Racers, and welcome to another live stream. And today's live stream is going to be tackling 3 gym workout myths that have been around for ages. And so I thought I would tackle these today because they're common things that I hear from riders and racers, and also things that I got sucked into as well when I was training for racing. And found out the hard way that some of these things that we believe in racing, some of these things that we follow, some of these things that we try and incorporate or that we've been told, actually don't have any substance or research or backing behind them. They're kind of just theories, or I don't know, maybe someone great has a good rider or racer has said something, and everyone has taken that and passed it on through the generations, even though it might not be entirely accurate. So the point of this is to make sure, hey Shane, that you're not wasting your time with your training. That's really what I hate seeing, is when riders and racers are training and putting in the work and not getting the results out on the bike, or doing things inefficiently when they could be spending that time doing things that actually help with their racing. So I've broken it down in here to 3 big ones that I could find with gym training, and things that I got sucked into as well, as I said, over my 14 years of racing. First one that I wanted to tackle is weights make you big and bulky. Okay, now I've got a video here that I want to share with you guys. You're kidding. I didn't get the link for it. I wrote down exactly what I wanted to post, but I didn't get the link for it. I was going to put it in the comments for you guys. Anyway, weights don't make you big and bulky. Okay, the thing that makes you big and bulky is over-consuming food and lifting weights in a specific way. So for riders and racers, they kind of generalize with weight training. Okay, and the automatic assumption is that weights make you big. Okay, and that's just not true. There's 2 different types of weight training. Okay, or main types of weight training. There's bodybuilding hypertrophy training. That training is specifically designed to tear muscle fibers so that they come back bigger. Okay, that's bodybuilding, body composition. That's the guys that you see on Men's Health and Fitness cover. That's the guys that you see on stage. That's the guy that you see on supplement packs, okay, or in supplement stores. These are the big, juiced up, bulky guys, okay? That's the typical image we have in our head. That's one type of weight training. Another type of weight training is strength training. Okay, and strength training is where the purpose of the training is to get you stronger. And so what happens here is, instead of tearing muscle fibers and getting them to grow and expand and be bigger, we just want them to be more efficient. We want them to be more explosive. We want you to be able to contract harder and more efficiently. So the example I had is, if you have a look at Olympic weightlifting, which I do a lot of at the moment and did a competition for on the weekend. Olympic weightlifting, the goal of that is to be able to move well and to move heavy weights, but you have to be in a certain weight class. Okay, so bodybuilding is a little bit different when it comes to that. When it comes to Olympic weightlifting, everyone, hey Luke, is in a particular weight class, and then you're scored on how much you can lift at a particular body weight. So for example, there's a world record for the women, a 49 kilo girl, 49 kilos, okay? Probably lighter than every single person that's watching this video, unless you're a child. 49 kilo girl, clean and jerking of 119 kilos. So 119 kilos is moving the weight from the floor up to your shoulders, and then from your shoulders up above your head. 119 kilos. Okay, now, majority of you guys on here, not everyone, majority of you, number one, are going to be heavier than 49 kilos. And number 2, you're not going to be able to get 119 kilos above your head. And the reason is because you're not strong enough. Okay, you're not doing the right strength training. So that's just a prime example that you don't have to be big to be lifting heavy weights. Okay, 49 kilos, a 49 kilo girl. The reason I say girl is not to be sexist. It's because they have less testosterone than men, which means naturally they're not going to have the same strength capabilities as what a male will. Okay, that's the reason I share that example. So a 49 kilo woman can put 119 kilos above her head. Okay, as I said, majority of you are going to be more than 49 kilos of body weight and still not going to. And this was the same for me when I was racing. So definitely I got sucked into this one. Tried to steer clear for the majority of my 14 years of racing, tried to steer clear of heavy weights. Definitely was not lifting 119 kilos and definitely was not 49 kilos of body weight. Okay, was always trying to keep my body weight light. I did lots of RPM sessions, like spin class sessions, at one period of time for a couple of years there. And then previously for 5 years, I did competition swimming. Okay, an hour swimming 3-4 times a week, up and down the pool, club level swimming, training with swimmers that compete and do swimming competitions, even though I wasn't doing swimming competitions. Now, you would think with all of that cardio work and buying into the not doing weight training, that I would be able to do at least a 15-minute moto at race pace. And that wasn't true. Okay, I was struggling with 5 to 10 minutes at race pace on a really rough track, let alone 15 minutes. And that's because, again, I got sucked into that myth of thinking that weight training was going to make me big and heavy and didn't do any weight training. So the bike always felt heavy because I wasn't strong enough, which means it taxed me and fatigued me a lot more than what it should have. And I just thought I had to do more cardio. I was like, no, I'm not doing enough cardio. Got to do more cardio, more cycling, more swimming, more RPM sessions. I've got to push harder. And that just wasn't the case. It's just that I had all of this conditioning, these beliefs from that have been passed on for generations that just wasn't true. Second thing, train longer than you race. So another one that I got sucked into. So at the time I was doing 15 minutes, I think when I got to the end of juniors, or even seniors, we were doing 15 minutes plus a lap at that point. They were the races or the race lengths. And so the general consensus with a lot of riders and racers is you need to train longer than you race. If you're doing 15-minute motos, you need to go to the gym and do half-hour workouts or 45-minute workouts or 1-hour workouts. Because if you can do an hour on the cycle bike or half an hour on the cycle bike, when you go and do 15 minutes of racing, the 15 minutes is going to feel easy. In theory, that sounds lovely, doesn't it? It sounds great. In practice, that shit does not work. And the reason it doesn't work is because the intensity is very different. So the intensity that it takes to go and cycle for an hour is very different to the intensity of a 15-minute plus 1 lap moto. So again, I got sucked into this. I was doing heaps of RPM sessions. I was doing heaps of swimming, heaps of cardio work, trying to do push-ups, trying to do light weights for high reps. Always trying to train longer and do workouts that were longer than my racing, but then still come back to a 15 plus 1 minute moto and not be able to do it. And then people would say, oh yeah, but there's nothing like bike fitness. You just got to spend time on the bike. Well, although that's partly true, you don't need to be living on the bike 6 times a week to be able to do a 15-minute plus 1 lap moto. If you're doing the right off the bike training, a 15-minute plus 1 lap moto is not that difficult at all. It's just that I got sucked into this doing lots of long distance training. So what you actually need to be doing is, instead of doing an hour training, is focus on doing intervals and training the intensity of a race rather than trying to replicate the duration. So instead of going and doing, let's say if you're on an exercise bike, instead of doing an hour on the exercise bike, go and work on intervals. Short, sharp bursts of high intensity activity. Okay, a minute flat out on the exercise bike, a minute rest. A minute flat out, a minute rest. The reason this is so effective and works really well is because when you go and race, it's very similar. When you race, although you may be giving it 100% effort, okay, it's not the same intensity all the way around like you would on a cycle or going for a marathon run. There's short bursts of high intensity. So like you might have a really rough section and you got to get up on the pegs and you got to fight the bike. That's 100% effort. But then you come into the corner and you sit down and you rail a berm, okay, or you're in a rut, or you've got a smooth straight coming up, or you're floating through the air over a jump and you've got a bit of a break, right? You might still be giving it 100% effort, but your body's not under a whole heap of fatigue. And so there's fluctuations in intensity. So when I was doing my long cycles, like doing all those RPM sessions for 45 minutes or an hour, the crossover, there's some level of crossover compared to doing nothing, but I still couldn't do a 15-minute plus 1 lap moto. And it's like, why? And that's because I wasn't training the intensity. I was training the duration. Okay, I could have done 2 hours every day of cycling, and that still wouldn't have helped me to do my 15 minutes plus 1 lap. So that's another myth that I got sucked into, is trying to train longer than you race. So another thing, it's just probably just been passed down through the generations that it's not effective. Okay, it doesn't work. Third thing is lifting weights causes arm pump. So I find a lot of riders, again, I was told by multiple people Okay, whether that's my dad, whether that's riding coaches that I spent time with, whether that's other guys at the track, whether that's guys that were faster than me, is don't lift weights because it's going to cause arm pump. Now, so that's what I did. I didn't lift weights, okay? Didn't lift heavy weights. Now, towards the end of my 14 years of racing, when I got involved in strength and conditioning, I went to this particular gym. I had a friend that was doing these gym sessions. He said, oh, they're really good. They build fitness, blah, blah, blah. He wasn't as good a rider as me, but he said that the training was really good. It was really hard. So I was like, okay, cool. It's got to be hard. I was doing RPM sessions at the time. I was like, fuck, that feels pretty hard. This stuff must be even harder. Because he was doing those spin classes with me as well. So I went there. And the first thing that happened is I got in there and there was all these guys there and they were older than me. I'm talking like, I was in my 20s. I would have been, no, younger than that. I would have been 17, 18, 19 at the time. There was all these guys there that were like 20s, 30s, even 40s, 50s, lifting these heavy weights. And I was, fuck. The first thing that came to mind for me was, shit, I can't lift these heavy weights. I'm going to get arm pumped this weekend. And I was literally shitting my pants going into this session because I'm going, shit, they're going to make me lift all these heavy weights and I'm not going to be able to say no because it's part of a session. And I'm going to get arm pumped and I'm going to be too big for the bike and I'm going to feel like shit when I go and race this weekend. They were all the thoughts that were going through my mind. And so anyway, a few months later, I actually started really enjoying the training. I just enjoyed the training. The benefits for racing were good, but it was just I enjoyed getting in there and doing the sessions. It was probably the most I'd enjoyed my training the whole time I'd been doing any training or exercise. And so what happened then is, as I'd been doing that for a few months, we started lifting weights more, and I started getting a lot stronger. And my riding started to improve. So I was riding a 250F at the time, a RMZ 250F, and I remember riding around AJS, Wanneroo. So if any of you guys have watched the Nationals in previous years or you're from WA, you know that track gets fucking rough. And it can be a really difficult track to ride. If anything's going to test your physical fitness, it'll be that track. And I remember going there and riding my 250F and just being able to keep pushing, right? It's like there was this section that came up the back up to the big quarry jump, and there was this really rough section. I remember I'd always be really sore and tired there because there was these rough sections before, and then leading up to that jump, and you had to hit this jump really, really hard and fast, but that meant you had to really smash the whoops beforehand before you got to this jump to make it over the jump. And I remember going around lap by lap, and I was like, fuck, I feel like I can throw this 250F around. I was like, before it was like, you know, you'd slow down, the bike would be going all over the place, you get a bit of whiskey throw on the bike, sticking out here and there. And I remember going around going, shit, like I feel like I can really muscle this bike around, like put this 250F where I want it to go. And that went against absolutely everything that I'd learned for the last 14 years or everything that I'd been told. Everything that I'd been told was don't do weights because you're going to get arm pump and you're going to get too big and bulky and it's going to make you worse on the bike. And all of a sudden I started lifting these heavy weights and I'm feeling better on the bike than I ever have. And I've only been doing this weight training stuff for a few months. And so that's when it made sense. I was like, well, okay, the bike is 100 kilos. And at the time, I was weighing only 68 kilos. So it was pretty fucking light. Actually, I did get a little bit heavier through the training that I was doing. So let's say I was about 75. I got a bike that's about 100 kilos. I was at 75 kilos. That's about 175 kilos there in total that I had to muscle around or throw around. Now, looking at that, you go, okay, shit, that's a fair bit of weight. And then I looked back and I was like, okay, well, I've done all this weight training, which means I'm stronger. So the bike's starting to feel light now. And the 250F's starting to feel light and I can muscle it around more, but I can also muscle it around more, but I don't feel as fatigued because it doesn't feel as heavy anymore. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Cool, right? And so that went against everything that I'd been told, everything that I'd ever been told, all of the again, like I said, the whole causing arm pump, they're getting too big and too bulky for the bike and not being able to move well and being too stiff and losing your flexibility and all that stuff, which is bullshit, okay? It wasn't true. And I guess to build on that as well, for the whole lifting weights causing arm pump, if lifting heavy weights did truly cause arm pump, wouldn't arm pump get worse and worse as you kept riding the bike, right? So instead of doing more riding and arm pump getting better, like a bike's 100 kilos. So if I'm trying to muscle around 100 kilos every time I go and ride, plus my body weight, whatever that is for you guys, or 75 kilos at that point in time for me, 175 kilos. If I go and ride every weekend, and if heavy weights do truly cause arm pump, then wouldn't my arm pump get worse and worse every time I ride? That's not the case. The more you ride, the better arm pump gets. Okay, the more you can get out of the bike, the more arm pump reduces. So it doesn't really make sense. And there's a lot of things in riding and racing. They're just the gym workout ones that were top of mind for me. But there's a lot of there's a lot of things in training, okay, in riding, in racing, they're myths or things or sayings or beliefs that have been around for ages, but no one really questions them. It's kind of like they just take it. Someone else has told you, and someone else has told you, and someone else has told you, and it's kind of like it's just been passed on, passed on, passed on. But no one's actually taken the time to question them and go, okay, is that actually right? And everyone just takes it at face value. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, heavyweights cause arm pump. Yeah, it makes sense. If you get bigger, you be too heavy. Okay, cool. And you just take that as fact, right? Same as thinking riding longer than your race. Oh yeah, it makes sense in theory. Yep, I'll take that as fact. Yep, cool. But no, there's no research, no evidence behind that. You probably haven't even tried different training methods yourself, yet we take them on board. And that was the same. I never actually tried heavyweight training, right? Because I was so scared of getting arm pump and being too big. So I didn't even try it. So I didn't know if it was true or not because I hadn't even tried it in the first place. Same with training longer than your race. I never tried to do short, sharp, intense workouts because I was like, nah, well, that's not going to help. Obviously, I need to do longer workouts. That's what everyone's been telling me all this time. So I never even tried to do shorter workouts or more intense workouts. I just took it. I said, okay, well, that's what everyone's doing. That's what everyone said. Must be true, right? And so there's a lot of these things that what I encourage you guys is to question everything that you do. And even the things that I say as well, question those things, okay? I'm always up for healthy debate. I love healthy debate. I love having conversations with people about training and how things could be better or how things might not be true. I fucking love it, okay? What I don't love is when people attack and they just completely shut themselves off to any other solution. I enjoy healthy debate. So if you have any healthy debate, feel free to post it down below in the comments. But really what I encourage you guys to do is to question the things that you're doing. And even I encourage my guys that I work with, question the things that we're doing. If you're not confident in something we're doing, or you're not sure why we're doing it, or you think it's working against your goal rather than working towards it, let me know. Because then I can explain it to you in a different way, or I can help to educate you. Rather than you going into it half-hearted, you can give it 100% effort because you believe what we're doing. And that makes all the difference. But it starts with you guys questioning everything. Question the stuff that I give you. Question all of the other stuff that you've learned. Question all the other beliefs that you have to make sure they're actually true and they've got some substance there. And at the end of the day, it's not about being right. It's about what's going to get you to the result. And that's the most important thing. It's not about ego getting in the way and who's right and who's wrong. It's about, okay, what's the best way to tackle things to get a specific result? It's all about performance and outcome. That's what we're chasing. Don't really care how we get there or how we improve the performance or outcome, as long as the performance and outcome is actually improving, okay? The way that you get there can always be changed. Don't get sucked into just thinking there's one way of doing things. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and got some value from it. If you did get some value from it, please give it a like. And as always, if you'd like some help with your training, you'd like to work with me one-on-one, send me a private message. Let me know what you're working towards with your riding and racing, and I can see if I can help. But otherwise, hope you guys have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon. See you guys.